Welcome to Conversations. I'm Andy Millard. In 1918, a young Carter Brown and his wife Marion stepped off the train in Tryon, North Carolina, right about where we're standing. He looked around and said, "This is it." You see, Carter owned a resort in Holland, Michigan that was only open from May to October, and he was far too ambitious and energetic to take half the year off. So he bought a former tuberculosis hospital, turned it into the Pinecrest Inn, and set about making this town his own. Carter Brown never let the fact that he had absolutely no training or experience in something keep him from doing it. My kind of guy. He started a lot of things that continue to this day, such as the Tryon Riding and Hunt Club, the Indian All Dog Show, and the Blockhouse Steeplechase, just to name a few. The first running of the Blockhouse took place at 4 o'clock on April 5th, 1947, and among the 7 competitors that day was Carter's youngest son, Austin. He wore white and green silks, and he won the race. In fact, he won the first, second, and fourth blockhouses, and he'll tell you that he believes he really won the third one, too, by a nose. Austin eventually left Tryon to pursue a career in racecourse management, but although he left Tryon, Tryon has never left him. And on a recent visit, he sat down with freelance writer Laura Ward and me to talk about his famous father, Tryon and its people, and what Austin considers his own great privilege, growing up in the shadow of an icon.
He was a great, great man, and fortunately, I felt so lucky to have him for his father, and I admired him so much and loved him so much. You know, he came and he got involved right away and helped build the Tryon Golf clubhouse. He was the first male member of the Tryon Garden Club. And he started the Riding and Hunt Club, and he started the horse show. But this was a great town, and I mean, it still is. Every day you'd meet in Missildines drugstore here in the morning. Everybody come downtown. Drugstores in those days had round tables, you know, you could sit and visit. Then the telephone system was wonderful. I remember, you know, and the operator always answered with the words "Hedda," which I think meant hello. I've never been sure, but Hedda. And I'd say, "Oh, could I have Mr. Flynn's, please?" "Sorry, Mr. Flynn isn't in. He's gone to the movies tonight." "Oh, thanks." You know, I'm not kidding you. I mean, and then they finally said we had to have numbers. Oh man, I remember I was so mad. He was an amazing guy. I mean, used to run my mother crazy at Pinecrest because he had a boxwood farm down by the barn, and people would be getting ready to get in their car and drive back to wherever they were going. He'd say, "Oh, do you like boxwoods?" "Oh, yeah." "Well, come on down, drive your car down." He'd go and dig them up, 2 or 3 boxwoods, and put them in the car. But, you know. And the other thing that's interesting, here's a guy that graduated in degree in agriculture. He comes and he gets building houses for people. You know, he built a lot of houses here. And had no background at all. He would have guests, you know, would come and stay at the inn. For instance, Jack Kimberly from Neenah, Wisconsin. Jack had an interest in the hunting country, and so Dad, you know, took him out riding and showed him around, say, "Now, Jack, here's a perfect place you could build your house. Have your barn over here in the hillside," or, you know. And he would say, "Yeah, that sounds good." So Dad would bring him right back into town, bring him downtown, and there was one real estate gentleman, introduce him, and walk out. So no commissions, or, you know, that wouldn't have been good. He wouldn't have liked that at all, to make anything on a deal like that. So So you're never very rich. I remember when he built a house for Sam Abernathy, who was a wonderful man from New York and loved Dad, and he just said, "Carter, build me a house." And he never looked at it, never saw plans, never saw anything. So Dad built the house, and Sam came down, and he was very pleased. And remember, he gave Dad a beautiful Brooks Brothers polo coat for his work that he had done on the house for 6 months. One trip around the course, you'd been in 3 counties and 2 states. And the blockhouse itself sat right in the middle. So the blockhouse was in 2 states and 3 counties. So when they used to have chicken fights there, I'm told, back in the old days, when the sheriff would come from one county, they'd all run down to the other end of the house where he couldn't get them. In my day, it was a real sort of a resort town, really. I mean, you had Pinecrest Inn, Oak Hall, huge place up there, Thousand Pines out in the Gillette Woods, which is a wonderful inn, Mimosa Inn, and you had people like Scott Fitzgerald staying up at Oak Hall writing his books and drinking liquor and keeping his door locked, and he and my dad were great friends. My dad did not drink, but he'd try to keep Scott sober and would go up to Oak Hall and try to get him to come out and quit writing and drinking, because that's what he would do. He would write and drink until he couldn't do it anymore, and then he'd kind of collapse. And then you had great guys like Lefty Flynn that lived here, who had been a movie actor. And he was married to a Langhorne girl, and she was Lady Astor's sister, and they were great. Lefty liked to drink, and she didn't like him to. And I remember one time she called him and said, "Carter, please come over." They had a house in Gillette Woods and had a big beam across the living room. Said, "Lefty's up on the beam, and I can't get him to come down." So Dad goes over and finds, here's Lefty, and he played guitar and sang, he had a beautiful voice. He's sitting up on the beam like this, and he's got his man down below in a white coat, and he's got a string and a little shot glass. And the guy's got a bottle, and he's putting it in the shot glass, and Lefty's up there pulling him. But anyway, he thought it'd be nice to have a cabin up on Hogback Mountain for people to go where they could take a ride and go up there and spend the night and, cook breakfast and so on, ride back. And of course, the moonshiners were really thick out in dark corners, it's called, and up Hogback Mountain there. So they let him go through the whole deal. I don't remember how many days, months he spent going up there, riding up on horseback and building this thing. And the day he finally finished it, left, they burned it down. I mean, unbelievable. The day to come back and drive into the inn and look around, and I got a few less tears in my system than I had earlier today, I can tell you. This place always gets me. I met my wife here, who's been with me for 64 years. I went to school here. I played on the Tryon High School football team. Tryon's just a great town. What a wonderful, wonderful life I had to be able to live here and grow up as I did. And I just had a very, to live to be 86 and to have a wonderful wife that's still with me after 64 years. God, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I mean, if I drop dead tonight or tomorrow, don't feel sorry for me, please, because I've had a bloody good run, I can tell you. I didn't get shortchanged. I would just like to be remembered as a guy that was a pretty good guy myself, tried to be good and tried to be a leader, and hope that people think I was. When the time is over, they might say, you know, he was a pretty good guy and did a lot of good things. I like to think I'm a good guy. I'm sure I'm a good guy. Gosh, he was some guy. He really was. Thank God for Carter Brown. Hey, onward and upward. Yeah,